What's up, guys?
Welcome back, brothers.
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Water. I'm your Okay. Rude. Honestly, it's just rude at this point. Get out of my head.
This is the Whiskey Show now.
I'm your co-host, Liv.
I'm your co-host, Jess.
AKA Whiskey and Water, and we are back at it again.
Absolutely not.
With another episode. Today, we are so excited to have our friend Kenzie on. She is the owner, founder, and designer of KB Swim. We've actually been working with her for quite some time now. And you tell them all about her.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in the same town as Kenzie. And so, that's how I originally, met her, knew her.
Which is a small town in North Carolina.
North Kakalaki, baby. If you guys are, Wilmington people, hello, shout out.
You.
Yeah, and so I met her through mutual friends there, and then I think shortly after is when she started the line. Yeah, I had to have been, because this was years ago, and she's been in the game now for 5 years with this swimwear line.
Yeah, and she's just always been so supportive of us. She's been sending us suits forever. We always shoot in her stuff. We're just happy to support her small business, and she's really just out here doing it. We talk about her journey, how she got into it, how she barely made anything the first 2 years, and now how she's making six figures. She's bringing in six figures with her business, how she got her stuff on Addison and she actually has a really funny story about that day and how crazy her business went that day,
because Addison posted in it.
Yeah, so it's a really good episode. Tons of really practical stuff. If you've been thinking about starting a line of some sort, this is definitely the episode to listen to.
Or if you're just a business owner, honestly, of any kind that's selling a product.
Physical product.
And Olivia and I speak a little bit about how our process has been, because we're kind of in the very beginning stages of conceptualizing our line. So yeah, just really good stuff in here that we're definitely going to be applying for ourselves as well.
Yeah, we dive into some financials, some tips. It's good stuff. We're excited for you guys to listen to this one. But before we get into that, we would like to thank our show sponsors. First up being Celsius. Clink. Today we have sparkling watermelon. And
I
guys,
am cracked.
She's cracked. She's a little shaky, actually. But that's because she also hasn't ate.
I haven't eaten.
She hasn't ate any food. Probably hasn't drank any water. But here we go. Okay, we got healthy energy. I can't talk either. It accelerates metabolism and it burns body fat.
There's no aspartame. As you guys know, we struggle with that word.
We do.
But anyway, there's no high fructose corn syrup, no preservatives, no artificial colors or flavors, and there are 7 essential vitamins proven in 6 published university studies.
We love it. They renewed with us. We're hype. Let's go, Celsius. Celsius gang or die.
Or die. That's it. There's only 2 options here.
I mean, we're really out here. I love going, it's the best, going to the gym and rocking our Celsius swag and being I'm an athlete.
Dude, I mean, I'm convinced that's why everyone in my building calls me the Celsius girl. It's because I'm always wearing their merch and I always have one in my hand.
Yeah,
and
sounds about right.
Their merch is awesome. I love their merch.
Sounds about right. All right, moving on to our second sponsor, which is Women's Realm. We have talked about this before. We're going to talk about it again.
Women's Realm is a resource for women, men, anyone who really needs tips, advice, product guides. It has exclusive discounts. As we've told you guys before, there's so many products out there marketed for women. You don't know which ones to sift through. You don't know which ones are good. And Women's Realm really does that all for you. Yeah,
it's kind of a pain in the butt when you have to sit down and try to find a good anything, skincare or, fitness brand, whatever it is. There's an influx of things. It's highly saturated in all the markets for women. So it's nice to just have one place you can go to, you can trust that it's the best products, they have the best reviews, and that you are going to get something of quality from their website. So check it out, Women's Realm. They do that for you and so much more. Link in our description.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay. Let's move on to our weekly challenge.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay.
So this one's going to be a little bit different because we want you guys to get connected with your nature selves.
With your inner, mother nature. Go hug a tree somewhere.
Go hug a tree.
But in all seriousness, I feel like I do this anyways, but this week's challenge is basically encouraging you guys to take either 5 minutes. I say 10 minutes. I don't think 5's enough personally, but take 5 or 10 minutes, sit outside without your phone and just take a moment. to really enjoy
to be
nature.
present. Yeah. And, you know, so much comes from being present, not just, you know, like clarity, but inspiration. You know, it'll lower your anxiety levels. It'll just set your day off on the right foot. So make sure that you do that at some point.
Yeah. And, you know, in Miami, we can either look at blue skies or just feel the sun on our skin. I don't know where you guys are that you're listening to this, but wherever you are, I'm sure there's some sort of beauty around you, whether it's mountains or the ocean or the desert. I don't know. There's beauty in everything, right? So just take that time and really disconnect from the phone and connect with nature and feel how it is grounding to you. So yeah, that's our challenge for this week. Do that once a day, all week. Let us know how it's going. Take a picture. Well, I guess if you don't have your phone, you can't take a picture. But after, take a picture. Let us know that you did the weekly challenge, and we will be doing it with you guys.
Absolutely. And like always, guys, if you guys want to help support us, grassroots efforts are the best efforts. And we just need you guys to take a screenshot, post it on your story, tag us, let us know you're listening. And that's all we'll ask of you.
Yes, especially if you're a weekly listener, let us know you're out there. We love connecting with you guys on Instagram. Ask anyone who like likes our stuff. We always like spam you guys back. We just love showing support back to you guys. So let us know you're out there. Holla at your girls. Take a screenshot, tag us. We love to see it.
And we will catch you on the flip side.
Yep. See you on the other side.
All right, guys, we are on with Kenzie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're super excited. This is definitely long overdue, but I feel like it's very aligned with our new, you know, rebrand of, you know, female entrepreneurship. You know, we've been working with you and I've known you for years now. So just super excited to have you on.
So excited. I love you guys. This is like so much fun. I'm so excited.
Yay. We've actually, even before our rebrand, we've had you on our list of guests since we started the podcast. So it's a long time coming and we're so excited to have you. Let's get right into it, I guess.
If you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do, who you are.
Yeah, well, my name's Kenzie, and I own a bikini company called KB Swim. I'm located in Wilmington, North Carolina. Yeah, Jess is
represent.
I'm wearing my tank top, my KB Swim tank top.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for about this is going into my 4th year, but I just started like right out of college. I went 1 year in school and hated it, and I was like, was totally not for me.
Same.
So I kind of went in and out of jobs and I was like, I just want to incorporate art into something. And so that's where swimwear kind of came from. But yeah, it's been growing each year and I am just ready to like keep it going.
Definitely. And I know Kenzie because we grew up basically in like neighboring towns.
In North Carolina. So I've obviously known you for almost like half my life now, honestly. Yeah. So we are from, you know, a small town called Wilmington, North Carolina / like Wrightsville Beach area. And it's just a really cute little beach town. So I definitely want to talk about like your inspiration behind creating the line, because I feel like, you know, Wilmington almost like has a good part to play in that.
Yeah, well, growing up here, obviously, like I was at the beach a lot, and I feel like we just like being with friends, we would always hang out down at this place called like, you know, Stone Street, and it's like right at Wrightsville. It's like the popular place to be. There's restaurants and, you know, like there's a bar, there's a little grocery store. We can get like mac and cheese and ice cream, and that was like my life growing up. So I was never someone who was like not like, I was always at the beach or always like somehow in the sun, just being here. So with that, I just felt like when I worked at a surf shop, honestly, at Wrightsville Beach called Surf City, I got really into the swimwear and seeing the buyers come in and seeing just like all the swim. I was like, that's when my obsession with swimwear became like really real. And then from there, I started just buying like lots of big name brand stuff. And I was just like, I liked certain brands, but I like picked things from different brands that I liked. I was like, I like the way this cut is, but I like the way this fabric is. And that was like really what inspired me to be like, okay, let me make something for like me, because I'm short and I'm a little like thicker. I can be thicker. Like I have more hips and like a butt. And I just felt like I needed something that really fit my body type well. So I feel like that's what really made me go like, okay, let me just like make something of everything that I've seen and just make like the best swim I can make. So
I love that. So you basically saw a gap in the market with where you were at, and you worked in a swimwear store, so you of all people would know best, like what's trending, what's in there, what's, missing out of the swimsuits that are selling right now. And I love how you kind of just took matters into your own hands and you're like, all right, let me just like solve this problem real quick, because I think there's so many girls who can relate to you and relate to your body type too. And I know it's hard sometimes finding swimwear that it really can fit well and is flattering to your body type. So I just think that's awesome that you were like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take matters into my own hands and go for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And like, I also think it's important to note that like you're super creative. Like you stay making like just like super dope shit. Like you're always like painting or making a dope jean jacket. She actually, made your custom jean jacket for your engagement, which was so cute.
I'm wearing my ring right now, but
oops.
And she made us whiskey and water denim jackets. Yeah. Wait, so when this episode goes live, we have to post all of those on the feed.
Yeah.
And show off your artwork.
Did you, so when you were saying like, okay, I want to make, swimwear for me, were you like about to make your own like samples, like sew it together? Did you like find a manufacturer? Was that like when you were like, okay, I want to start a line?
Yeah, so it was actually really funny. It was January, it was like cold, and I had just actually quit my surf shop job. And I was like, because I was getting into, my mom was like, you need to go actually take a few classes at the community college here, because I was just working and I quit the university here. So I was trying to take a few like little community classes just to like see if I could get back into school possibly. And that's when I literally sat, I think the month of January, in my bed, weirdly enough, like every day. But I had like notebooks laying all over my bed and like a computer. And I was just like, I still have them too, because I was like, I gotta keep these forever. They're just like things I was just trying to draw, and like looking back at those like sketches and things, I was like, but just like I was like writing out stuff. I was like trying to figure out like a name. I was really thinking like, okay, I want to like have a brand, and I want to not just for myself. Like I was like, I really want to make swim for everyone, but I was more thinking just like on a friend scale, like small, like local friends would probably want to like wear it and stuff. And I just literally took a whole month to just do that. And from there, I found people and connected with people to be able to get into like finding a manufacturer, which was extremely, extremely difficult, because surprisingly enough, like even 4 years ago, you could not Google. Like you can go on Google now and type in like swimwear manufacturers and find a decent amount. Like there's a lot more like access to things like that than back in like 2000, I don't know, what is that,
7?
I can't do math, so
2016.
Yeah, it was like it's totally different. So it's like I had to really search and find and figure out what was working. So I just spent a lot of time just like doing that. And then, I mean, it took like a year to even get like a sample from a manufacturer of like something maybe that would work.
That's crazy.
Wow. So it's like a long process.
Yeah, definitely a long process.
And I feel like you were one of the first people that I contacted when Olivia and I decided that we wanted to make a line in the near future. And you had so much information to share and like so many do's and don'ts and like things that you wish that you would have known.
She called me after. She was like, oh my God, Kenzie just spilled the fucking tea. Like she just gave me so much good advice.
And I feel like the whole manufacturing thing is really the part that people struggle with most, because there's like a lot of like order minimums, and it's just like a really, really expensive process. And just for our listeners, to get an idea of where you started, how did you fund KB Swim?
So I had no idea, no concept of how much like this whole thing would really cost. Like I was like, oh, whatever, it's going to be, like a couple of $1,000 here and there. And I wasn't in school, so my parents weren't paying for a school like tuition. So I was like, they were like, okay, well, if you're going to try and pursue this, we'll pay for it. We'll like help you out. And they basically took out a second equity on our house to be able to pay and fund the first collection, which was created in the United States. And so it was like extremely expensive because it was US made, but it was really worth it. I mean, it was really great. It was my first manufacturer, and to have them like be able to talk to me like not at weird times of the day and things, and just shipping was easy. So that's pretty much, my parents took everything and funded it, and they still do. I mean, to this day, like they're technically like my main investors, and
Oh, I love that.
That's crazy.
Finance anything I really need. I mean, they try. My mom works really hard. She doesn't really want to ever say no, because she knows that she's like basically the second business owner to KB Soil.
Right.
For sure.
Well, I'm sure she's seeing your success too, and she's thinking like, okay, well, obviously whatever she's doing is working, so let me keep, providing this resource for her.
For sure. And I mean, I think it's just, it's incredible that, and I know that you have a really, really good relationship like with your mom and your parents. Was there any time that you had to like kind of convince them, or like, were they just like 100% on board? Because like, that's crazy to me. If my kid was like, yeah, take out a second equity, I'd be like, no way.
Yeah. So the first, my mom, she's very like, I'm the third child, I'm a baby. So she's very like, yeah,
whatever you want, you get.
Yeah, a little bit. But my dad was the one. He is a chairman at the university that I dropped out of, and he's like pro school. He got his doctorate. He's
right.
in school. So he was a little bit hard to convince, and he quite kind of didn't like understand how you could like. He was like, where is this going? Like, where is this money really, like, why does it cost this much? He like didn't quite get that. I mean, just to put into perspective, I ordered, which mistake here, way too many suits my first time, ordered way too many. And it was like $40,000, and I wasn't expecting that. So that was, yeah. So to be like my first time, and like me over here, like working minimum wage jobs, like 19 years old with like not that much money, to ask my parents for that much money, definitely my dad I took some convincing on his side. My mom was a little bit more like, oh, we'll do it. It's okay. So.
Wow.
Oh my God.
What a mom.
Yeah, seriously.
And so you said that it was like $40K, and was that was like because of the minimum order quantity?
Yeah, the minimum order quantities are always a little different, like depending on who you're working with. But I also designed, I think my first collection, I did like 4 styles and 5 colors, and I thought like in my head I had no idea like really how much people would buy. And I guess I was thinking, oh, like 20 smalls, that's not that much. It's actually a lot. It's actually a lot when you don't really have that much of like many customers. It's like you might sell like three smalls like
right
in months. So I had a lot left over, and I didn't realize that. So I think on my part, I really just like put way too many units per style, so like too many down.
Gotcha.
And that's why it was expensive. But also in the United States, like sampling for stuff is like way more expensive for some reason, so that went into that cost a little bit. And it was just like, yeah,
for someone who is looking into manufacturing now, and they're kind of having that debate of doing it within the States or out of the country, what would be, do you think it was worth it doing your first drop in the States? If you could go back, would you do it differently?
I would personally. So some like United States manufacturers will let you like sample with them, but then not like manufacture with them. So, or
that's
some
interesting.
Yeah. So like they will maybe not let you sample with them, but they'll bulk produce them for you. Like it's weird. So
okay,
I have never done that, which I was like, when they reached out to me, well, they worked with, I don't know if you've heard of a company called Boys and Arrows.
Yeah,
it actually does sound familiar.
They actually were working for them, and they were the ones who were like, they don't, we just create their samples, but they actually bulk them out of the country. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I personally say, like, from back then, definitely if you're starting, I would go with someone not in the US, because it is going to be more expensive, but be aware of who you are choosing out of the state, out of the US, because you're dealing with, just eco-friendly, and just like, you don't want to be getting like a huge factory where you don't know who's working in it. You don't know what they're doing. I trust the people that make my stuff, and I wouldn't work with them out of the country if I didn't trust them necessarily.
Yeah, if they weren't like paying their workers fair wages and, trying to be some sort of like eco-friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can get caught up in that. Like, I know personally that's a huge thing for us, because it's hard when you're talking to someone, like not face to face, and you can't go to the factory and see what it's actually like, you know? So I feel like that's really, you're kind of just like going through it blindly in a sense.
Yeah, you really are. And you never know what you're going to get until you get it. So you kind of have to just do a trial, honestly. And I mean, the manufacturer that I currently work with, they do, which I think a lot do now, send me like a sample packet with like a suit that they created. And I was like, okay, this is what I want. Like, I want something like this. It got me to like see the texture and the feel and everything. So like, if anything, if you're going to talk to a manufacturer, maybe say like, hey, can you send me a sample of something? Do you have a sample of anything, just so I can see like your quality and just like how it feels, what kind of fabrics you're working with and stuff like that. I mean, that's to not have to waste money and go make a lot of samples and then hate it. So
Right. It's really interesting to hear you say that your first go around, like, you know, you order just way too many units, because that's something that even when we were talking about it, we're like, I don't even know, how do you like project how many buyers you're even going to have, or how many items of one size you should place. I feel like I'm curious to know any other like mistakes that you wish you could have, not you wish you could have gone back, because like everything happens for a reason, but things that you might have done differently now.
I definitely would have just, well, of course, the quantities and just money. And I just always feel like you had to spend a lot of money on like everything. Like you just needed, and it's like not, you can do a lot with a little bit of money and just, making, now there's so many outlets to making your own stuff. But like, I feel like I spent money just on like recklessly and being like, oh, I have to have, for instance, like my suits organized and like special, like really nice containers, and like spending a ton of money on like these plastic containers, when like in a year I grew out of that and I didn't even need them, and I spent like hundreds of dollars. So it's like things like that. It's like you don't need that in the plastic container, and you might not need, like, I started with literally like one of those foldable tables in like a room, because I was like, do I need a desk yet? Like, am I gonna stay in this area? Like in my parents' back bedroom, which is where I started, I was like, am I gonna stay in the back bedroom, or am I gonna be like somewhere else? So there's just things like, I feel like that was like my biggest mistake on, especially like ads and money on ads, money working with people, and just, yeah, wasted a lot of that.
Yeah, so being more frugal, I think that's amazing advice, because that's something we even recently kind of had to reevaluate, because we were thinking about getting an investor, and like we're like just thinking all these grand things, which is great because obviously everything we do, it's like go big or go home. But then we both kind of sat down and took a look at things, and we were like, there's a cheaper, not cheaper, but there is a more affordable way to accomplish
this. And we also kind of realized this amongst ourselves, is that we kind of always go balls to the wall with everything, and
which is like good, but also to a fault.
Yeah, so it's like allowed us to kind of look at things objectively and kind of like scale back from there. I am curious though, so once you ordered all of these samples and you were kind of not stuck with all of this stock, but how did you, like when you launched, how did it go? Like how long did it take you to like sell out of that stuff? Like how did you promote it? Maybe what worked for you, what didn't work?
So yeah, the first year I launched, I think in May, and I actually got a connection with a store here. So they were like my first store. They put some suits in and they did really well in the store. And I was like, that's awesome, because my online, like, I mean, the first day of my launch, no sale. Like I was expecting, like you go into it and you're like, oh my gosh, all these girls are going to go on and buy. Like no one was on my website. No, like I think I had like 10 visitors or something. Like it was pretty sad. And it's kind of like, it takes a toll on your like confidence. You're like, dang, like, is this really like what I want to do? And like it kind of was like that, honestly, though. For like 5 months I didn't have many sales. Like I would have maybe a couple a week, like not even, and it was mainly to people that knew me. But it was a struggle. Like I felt really, like kind of dumb that I bought all the parents, because I had all this suits sitting and they weren't really going anywhere. And I just was like, what do I do? Like I can't, I'm trying to grow my Instagram. I'm trying to just get out there more, just because that's the only outlet I know of. I mean, I'm selling literally from pretty much Instagram. Like I'm just trying to sell my stuff from there. So I I feel like I started reaching out to girls, and then influencers, like influencer stuff wasn't, I feel like, as big. And there were a few girls that I was like, where's, and I was like going on a big scale, like millions, thinking that was the way to go and like go for those big girls. And I reached out to them and sent them stuff and paid them way too much money to get like nothing that I really wanted. I mean, it helped some, but not nearly like I have it now. And over time, people started to circulate. My website kind of started to circulate, but really my first year was like dead. And it was like, and then it didn't start picking up until the like winter time of the next year. And that's where I did like a pop-up actually here in Wilmington, and like 120 girls lined up at the front door. And I was like shocked. And I have a picture of everyone in this room, and literally you cannot see the floor because everyone's heads. And I literally sold like $7,000 worth of suits in like an hour.
Holy shit.
I have goosebumps, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that was when I was like, okay, maybe this
Okay, maybe it will work.
maybe this will do good. But it was like, I mean, that was 9 months after I launched. Like I went from 9 months of like nothing. And I even went to, that was my first year, I actually went to Miami Swim Week, and I saw you guys, and I was like thinking like, oh,
Yeah, she came to one of our shows too.
I remember.
yeah, and I had this swim, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I feel so official. But like, it was pretty, I didn't try and show it, but it was pretty rough. And then after that, after the pop-up, and after that started, everything started to just pick up because all these girls had just bought. So girls were posting,
Tagging.
Telling friends, word of mouth.
yeah. And then people were like genuinely like, I actually liked the suit. I liked the way it fits. So they were coming back and they were buying more. And from there I grew. That's kind of like my local audience. I grew it really well from that. And then then those girls went off to college and they told their friends. And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. It's just like, really, the customers are, and you're like, the people that are following you are like, they kind of run it. They do. They kind of show you like, this is what we can do. And I don't know. It's like, I appreciate them like so much because
They're your salespeople.
yeah, like without them, I'm like, I wouldn't have had KB Swim, and it wouldn't have grown as fast. And it's like, I literally am like, I'm going to make you guys feel special as you can because you've made it grow. So
I'm curious about, so I know that you've changed a few things over the years about your suits. Like you kind of like have improved like, you know, the samples, you've improved like, you know, quality, fits, cuts. So I'm kind of curious as to like what your process was behind that and kind of how you know, wanted to improve it. Like, was that based on feedback that you were getting, like personal, you know, preference? Because I feel like a lot of the times we can kind of, you know, receive things and then, you know, maybe kind of like be like, oh, well, you know, it's not exactly what I like, but, you know, you had already ordered so much. So I'm kind of just curious about that process.
yeah, I feel like I have like extremely high standards, like personally, for like everything I do. And I'm like, if it's like one little thing that's so tiny, if it's not right, I'm like, no, like I'm not even gonna, like, I'm gonna fix it. So I think personally, I really am aware, but I also like, I keep up with other brands and the fit of other brands sometimes, and what people are saying back, like what they really like. And I take that into account. Okay, like she said, from this brand, like she didn't like the way this fit. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's sometimes not comfortable for people. Maybe they don't want something. So like, I mean, it's just like I take in everything, not just like reviews on my swim, but I take in reviews on all swim just in general, because it is, I mean, it's just like anything, like, you know, every girl buys different swimwear and they like appeal to other people and appeal to like all sorts of swim brands so that like you can kind of see what works best. And then you guys actually, I feel like when I sent stuff to you guys, I liked hearing, you know, if like Jess, especially like you would be like my number one person, especially girls who like obviously have a really big influence on social media. I appreciate, like, because I want you to enjoy it and tell people too. And so I would be like, what do you not like? Like, what do you, and I trust you because you wear a ton of swim brands. So I'd be like, you know, does this fit the same? And you're like completely honest with me, which I love honesty, and I love being like told what, you know, needs to be changed. So like,
I just want to be appreciated.
So like, it was like, it really meant a lot because I was like, okay, Jess said this, and then this girl said this, and I kind of feel this way. And that's really how I like fix things,
Mm-hmm.
make it look better. But I also feel like just with time each year, you start realizing like trends and things that just need to be changed when it comes to swimwear. And you're like, this is not it anymore. And this is not it. And it's like, it just grows over time.
Right. And I feel like trends like change so fast nowadays. And I feel like social media just speeds it up more, because as soon as like one thing, you know, pops off, it's everywhere, and then it's dead in a few months. I just feel like, you know, like because things go viral so fast now and things spread so fast, I feel like trends also are moving along with, you know, the speed of just how quickly all of our content just kind of gets filtered through. I really like what you said about how you were looking not only at your own critiques, but the critiques of other swimwear brands. I think that's really important
like a pro tip
to know. Yeah, because I mean, that's market research at the end of the day. You're studying yourself and you're studying your competition. And if you can do something better than they are doing, if you can do, you know, something that someone doesn't like about their suit, if you can make that better yourself, I mean, that's a win right there. You already know that you're going to get that consumer to buy from you versus buying from them. So I really love that.
100%.
So I'm actually curious as to, because I feel like, you know, you probably weren't profitable in your first year. So I kind of want to talk about like what has led up to now, because obviously, you know, and I feel like, you know, maybe we've like talked too much about like how hard this process was for you, but she is super successful now. You know, you're on your way to bigger and better always, but you know, you've gotten your suits on like huge influencers like Addison, Jenna Frooms, like just a ton of people. So I want to talk about kind of how you've kind of climbed the ladder to becoming profitable, or if you are even profitable at this point. And kind of what it's taken to get there.
Yeah, and just be fully, you know, as transparent as you feel comfortable being. Because I know a lot of people, you know, they only see what happens on the outside.
Yeah.
They don't know what it took to get there. So I think like your story it really proves that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like someone who's like going to be completely honest about this, because I still feel like right now I'm struggling. I'm like a struggle, and people like come to me and they're like, you're doing so well. You've grown. You seem so successful. And I'm like, it's like, are you kidding me? I still feel like I'm like where I was. But starting, I was negative 26,000 the first year. So it was like my nothing. I made no money. The second year, I was in the negative still. And then finally, my third year, I broke even, which breaking even, people were like, breaking even on your third year is great. Like, be happy.
Totally.
Broke even, but
good to know.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, noted. Mentally prepare.
Yeah, I mean, even like not, some people say they don't break even until like their fifth year, like sixth year. And I like tip, like I've literally been living off of is like people are, especially business owners, are like, I'm not like where you are now was where I was when I was on like year 6 and 7. So like you are doing well, even if you don't feel like you're doing well, you are doing. Okay, I don't feel that sometimes, but I'll remember that. So, you know, it's just like now I'm at a year where I officially didn't have to. I usually have to ask my mom or dad to help with big product like inventory, money, like payments and stuff, because it's huge payments. And I'm like, I spend, now that it's growing, like my monthly bills just to keep my business running is way more expensive. I mean, it went from like couple $100s to like $2,000 a month just to like keep the website and the ads and like little things. And so that taken into account like 12 months of the year, and then if you're only selling $10,000 to $15,000 in sales a month, you're really not making that much money, because you have to save for a $40,000 collection.
Right.
So
wow.
you're really still like, I'm at a point where I can pay for my stuff and I can keep my business running, but I can't pay myself and I can't really pay people. So I don't have employees yet, and I don't have any, like just have help, like who want to help people, that like my mom and my friends. And then of course I always try and pay like, you know, models and photographers, because that is something that's really important to me. But it's just like, I'm still not profitable, like necessarily to myself. Like I don't have a paycheck. I work and do other things a little bit like art and stuff, but I'm hoping to get to that point. And it's just like, it just takes time. I just realized like it's not going to happen in a year. It may not even happen for 3 more years, but it just depends on honestly your business and stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the commitment like in the transparency in the commitment. Like I think a lot of people end up seeing these really huge successful companies and they think that it really just happened overnight or with no blood, sweat, and tears. And I love that you're like here saying, no, I'm coming up to my 5th year and I'm just now able to like pay for my business. I think that's huge because that's a reality check for a lot of people. You know, it's not like you're going to start a business and start selling stuff and like be a millionaire the next month. It's like, no, this sometimes is like a long-term thing. This is like a long end game, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, and even in our last episode, you know, our guest was like, you know, if I could tell you to do one thing, it's, you know, stay committed. And like Olivia was saying, like so many people see the end product and not like everything in between, and then they praise you, but they also don't realize, you know, what it took to get there.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on like how you mentioned that you got into like retail, like your suits were in stores, because I feel like a lot of people kind of feel like retail is dead. Or, you know, things are moving online more. So I kind of want to know what your experience was like doing retail. And obviously I know Wilmington and Riceville Beach is like a lot smaller. So like you kind of know these people a little bit more intimately. But do you feel like that's a route that some people with lines should pursue? Or do you think that people should try to keep it like online? Or what's your experience with that?
I 100% like retail. Selling to retail stores is like my favorite. I think I would rather be in stores than online, honestly. It's just like, it's a guaranteed one, like you get payment and you really don't have to, you just give them the swim and you don't have to do much of anything after that except for, you know, with your brand. So it's like, it's a guaranteed, it's like a, you know, committed money. It's not something that you don't know if you're going to make it that month or you do. And so I'm like gradually gotten into more stores locally, but it's very hard, especially for a small new brand, to have a store, you know, really trust you and really it's like not that doesn't know you. Like that's been my hardest thing. It's like locally I have some stores sometimes come to me and because they see that, you know, it's kind of popular around here. But like if I tried to reach out to someone in Raleigh or even Florida or Georgia or anywhere, it's just like they really don't give you that time of the day at all because they don't really, they're like, what is going to make your unknown brand to this area sell against Frankie's Bikinis or sell against L-Space? Like, what is it? Like, is it really going to be able to hang there? Like, is it going to hang on the rack with them and be able to sell? And you really don't know. So it's like, it's hard. It's
hit or miss.
Yeah. It's the hardest part of selling, but it's to me the best way to make money and to be guaranteed to back for what you're producing, because you usually sell wholesale and you don't get that extra profit, but you know that it's going to be sold.
Yeah, that's really interesting because even like when we were doing Swim Week, we were also doing the trade shows. And for those of you who don't know, like the Swim Week trade show is basically a huge warehouse with hundreds of different brands trying to sell to buyers. And the buyers would be boutiques, hotels,
or like or Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's,
right,
or smaller boutiques.
Yeah, so that is kind of like, now I think it's seen as an old school process, whereas, you know, now everyone's saying like, if you're starting your business, sell only online, sell everything online. But I think there is definitely value. I think it depends also on what you're selling and the type of brand you are. But I think there is value in that like wholesaler type of relationship. Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, there's always going to be those people who like to go in the store and try shit on.
Totally.
And online shopping is a lot different than like going into a store and like just seeing what's available, because you can try everything on, you know, right then and there.
It's an experience.
Some people are a little bit more picky. They don't want to have to like ship stuff back. I'm like that. Like I don't go to a store. I don't really shop anymore, but I hate trying to order something, and if I had to like send it back, like that's just a nightmare for me. So I'd rather, you know, go to like a local retailer that has it and, you know, try it on in person.
And I don't think, you know, it may not be as big in the future, but I don't think it's ever going to die, because shopping is an experience that a lot of people like to do for fun, just for entertainment. Like I went to this big mall just the other day and I was shocked at how many people were voluntarily spending their money in the middle of a pandemic So like, you know, it's out there. People want to have that like in-person experience. They want to try on the clothes. They want to see how it fits on them, and they want to window shop and just walk around and make a day out of it. So I truly don't think it will ever completely die down or die out.
No, I don't think retail. I think retail is going to stay the way it is. Like I mean, I think some big shopping malls, but like local boutiques, I feel like are always going to just be the go-tos for people. Like here, I think it's more popular because we don't have like big stores and stuff as much, but like the local boutiques like kill it here and carry like the best brand. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll die.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, so they just buy like bulk wholesale and then you give them a flat rate and then you don't even have to worry about it, right?
Yeah, so you can, like, some stores will want to do consignment sometimes, which
Yeah.
where they as they sell, they kind of give you a paycheck and you split it, like some do 60-40 or whatever, and it just depends on the store. I personally don't like to do that because you're literally giving them your product to sit in the store, and it could sell or it could not sell, and if it doesn't, then you spend a whole summer with not having that product that you
Right.
could have sold online or something. So I don't personally like consignment. I sometimes do it to like first time people who've never sold even swim at all or just like never sold like my brand. But wholesale, they just buy it, you know, flat at the wholesale price. It's usually like half of the retail price, and usually stores do like 2 smalls, 2 mediums, 2 larges, like a very of like, you know, I would say the range is always between like 18 to 52 pieces, depending on like if the store has a minimum or you have a minimum or whatever. So
Cool.
Gotcha. And
Good
how
to know.
many stores are you in right now?
this year I'm in 4.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Okay.
last year I did 6, and yeah, it's like I feel like every year it's like I find a new store, or a new store finds me, and I like love doing that. And some years it's like a store has it and it's their first time selling swim, and they're like, yeah, maybe not next year but the year after, and I'm just like, cool, like I'm glad we
Yeah.
got to try it, like it's awesome, like
Yeah,
thank you
for sure.
trying me out.
You'd rather have the opportunity than not.
Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit on like copycats and competition, because I know I've seen you hop on your stories and vent about this before, and I think it's a issue a lot of business owners deal with, especially when they're selling a product. So how do you navigate that, you know, like seeing your hard work on another brand or on another like Chinese ripoff?
Well, I literally think that like you can't unfortunately trademark or actually like patent any design, clothing, swimwear. I don't know if you knew that. Like it's actually like impossible to, because like a Chinese production company could take your suit but change literally something as little as the stitch length, and it's not your suit anymore. It's
Right.
theirs because they changed that little thing. So it's like you can't ever really claim something to be yours. It's just got to be known as yours. So I don't have as much of a problem with it, but I feel like I'm more aware of being like subconsciously on accident coming out with something that looks similar to a bigger brand, and you're like, you don't realize it sometimes, and like sometimes things are just completely coincidental and it just happens and you're like, how did this happen? And I'm like, because it takes months to produce something, to create something for someone like most brands. So it's like if something comes out at the same time and it's almost the same thing, there's no way they could have known that they were doing that. And so I just remember that. But I've had, you know, there's some local smaller things can happen, and people can take something or see something doing well and go like, maybe I'll do that but change it just a little. Kind of sucks, kind of doesn't feel good, but the true people that support your brand are going to be like, I saw it on hers first, or I saw them do it first, so like obviously they know that, you know, and they're going to be like on kind of more on your side and understand that. So I'm excited and I'm like nervous to see how it gets as I grow. Like, is that going to happen as I grow? Is it going to,
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. But I've actually, this is funny, I've had bigger accounts block me on KB Swim, like when I was really small, like just started, and I have 2 accounts that still have me blocked currently. And I literally was just looking at their swim, like probably back in the day, because I was like actually like looking like before I even designed really, and they still have me blocked. And it's funny because I'm like, I get it, I get the protection thing, but they're like on a huge scale, so I'm like, how do you even know, like what do you care that much about my little brand? But I mean, like I get it for sure.
There's this company that we've worked with. Her name is Metier Jewelry. You know them. you know, Metier. So she had a swim line. You know, back in the day, she made a few samples of, you know, like this terry cloth swimwear. And this was like years and years ago, like before terry cloth swimwear became a thing. And I even like, I shot them for her. And recently, a large swimwear brand came out with really similar looking pieces, right? And they had blocked her. And she was like, hey, she shot them an email, like super transparently, was like, hey guys, you know, not in an accusing manner, but was just like, hey guys, you know, saw that, you know, you guys started making terry cloth here, sent pictures, like these are my samples, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just curious, like if there was something to hide, like why would you block me if there wasn't any beef here? Like why are you going out of your way to block me?
Like that's suspect.
That's sus. Yeah. Like it wouldn't have been sus otherwise, because it's a huge bikini company, you would think, blah, blah, blah. And they, like, the owner responded, and it's like, she's like well known, and she responded so catty. She was like they were like joking at her. They were like, yeah, no, babe, like your line is so small. I've never even heard of you until now. I design everything my own. I always have, like, just being super, super nasty. And the girl they had a chain of emails that she could see, right? And like they had attached that chain of emails, and in the chain of emails, they were like, haha, LOL, get a load of this type shit. And it was just like so nasty and so catty. And she like didn't even come at them weird, but I feel like it's just, you know, it's just something that kind of comes with the territory. You know, not everyone's going to be super nice. Some people might steal your designs. Some people might just have inspiration from it. But like I said, I feel like it just comes with the territory.
Yeah, I actually know what you're talking about, and I saw that and I was like mind blown, because I don't know if you guys remember, but the year we did like the Miami Swim Week brunch, I came out with the gray snake print and the alpine green and the mustard like colored suits, and a large brand came out with that exact trio, and I posted it right after she posted it, and I was like, this is so weird, like what is this trio? It was like the 3 colors and it looked identical. What? And I was like that's strange. And she was like, I'm telling you. And she reached out to me, and I was like, interesting. But yeah, it's like,
what did she reach out to you and said? Was that Metier reach out to you, or the owner of the brand?
No, Metier reached out to me.
Okay.
Yeah, she like saw it and she was like, what? This is crazy, because I've dealt with this too. And I was like, this is like, it's wild. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. And it's like, you can't, like, I think mentally it gets you down more than anything. It's like, don't think about it. I think really hard on things like that. And I'm like, oh, are people going to look at it and go like, I copied them because they're bigger? Are they going to think that? You know, even if it's like before, it's just like, you just never know. So I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Like, no one's going to put it together. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. I feel like the best way to navigate it is like, you know, it's at the end of the day, if someone's copying you or inspired by your work, as shitty as it is flattery. You know, you're obviously doing something that's starting a trend. You're obviously influential in some aspect that they feel like they want to hop on the bandwagon and copy what you're doing, as shitty as it is. I would just try to see it as flattery, you know, you're doing something right. And then I'm sure it's hard to get inspiration from other brands, but also making it different enough so that you're avoiding, you know, copying like their exact print or their cuts or things like that. Is there any advice you can give to our audience about like trying to get inspiration but without copying other people?
Yes, I would say like the biggest thing is like, instead of like looking for like designs, like look for trends. Okay. And try and think of that trend in as many possible ways as you can, and be like, how can I make this trend 10 different ways? Like, what can I do with this? Like, as long as it could be as simple as like the like ruched style has been in for like the past year, a couple months, and like, but there's so many ways you could like incorporate that in pieces of swimwear without it being exactly like a bigger brand, which is what like I live by. And I just like, I'm like, okay, well, this is a style I haven't done, and I could apply it to this trend. And then you end up really making something, and then it's not going to happen like the first time you start thinking about it. Like, I mean, it takes me like a while to get a thought of design from inspiration that I've seen. But I also feel like I see a lot of inspiration from clothing and just like a lot of high fashion designers and clothing. And I go like, wow, that could be cute if you like took this off and did this and made it into like more of like a swimsuit. And it could be like a dress, and you're like, a dress turning into like a swimsuit, and like it's like as simple as that, and just colors. And I mean, I find inspiration from really strange things, but I don't know if that's like the artist in me more than like the designer, because I feel like I was an artist before I was ever a designer, because they're very different. Artists, I mean, there's a whole different aspect between designing and just being like an artist.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because like, you know, that's not even stuff that I even think about really. So I'm wondering if that for you has been something that you have actively been cultivating the last few years, like that type of creative side of your brain where you're like constantly on the lookout for things to inspire you, or does inspiration kind of just hit?
Inspiration sometimes hits. Like it takes a second, but I do feel like it just kind of comes sometimes, but it takes time. And right now, like I'm about to come out with a collection, and I just spent a lot of time working on this, and I'm like, I have no ideas for what I could do next because I have all this new swim. But then like literally in 2 or 3 months, crazy enough, I will have a head full of new ideas, and it's like you don't know where they come from. And right now I feel like I'm completely blank with new things, but it will happen. And like I just feel like just take everything in. I just like take in everything. Like I look at little details of things, and it's really about like finding what makes you feel a certain way. And as like, I mean, even like emotionally, and then applying that to like designing and creating is like 100% what I do. And just finding your like space too, like your happy space, and it could be like going outside and like reading, going to the beach. And that's where I find like my creativity a lot of the time. It's like just honestly not thinking is where the thinking comes in.
I love that. We talk about creating space for those ideas and that creativity all the time, and like just create space to do nothing, and it's so crazy like what ends up coming out of that. I love that that's like your creative process, because that's the fun in the whole thing, you know, like that is the fun within creativity, is that now you have a blank space, you can't even imagine what your next design would be, and then in a few months like you're just gonna have a list of things that you want to just start doing. That's so fun. I'm really excited for us to start exploring that side because it's so new to us. And it'll definitely be a learning curve, but I'm excited to like turn that switch on in our brains, you know, and start seeing like the world differently in a sense.
Yeah, it's definitely like it was so hard for me at first to really like, it's almost like opening yourself up to that, like
totally
too. It's like you're like, how I don't even know how to even think about stuff like this. And it's like it took me a while. Like it took me a couple years, like 2 years to really be like comfortable and confident, and as well as opening myself up and then being like, what I am gonna do, and this is what I'm gonna create. And it's literally like it grows with you. So
I love that.
I love that too. And before we like wrap it up, I think that you mentioned something about working with influencers really like early on, and you feel like you like spent a lot of money on that. And so considering that you have had your suits and just merch on like such big influencers, I kind of want to know what your experience has been like, you know, working with influencers, if you feel like it's worth it for a small brand, or, you know, whatever it may be.
Or if you think they could do without, because I think a lot of that's, you know, all the rage. It's like when you create a small business, everyone's like, oh, you have to send out PR packages, you have to get it on influencers. So what's your piece on that?
100% PR packages are the way to go. They are the go-to. I love sending them, but I feel like I always like call to like my family and stuff. I'm like, I feel like I have a little family of girls that like have stuck with me, thankfully, since I started. Like you guys, honestly, you all live in Miami, all of you, and I love it because I'm like, it's this group of girls and they just like, they support me. And I feel like finding that group of girls also, or just finding those few that really like enjoy your brand, love your brand, and are willing to just support you because they genuinely like it, not because they're getting paid a ton of money for it. And that was like really important to me because I used to just find girls all over the place and reach out to people, and they would, you know, get sometimes $3,000 out of me for posting. Yeah. And it's just like,
I just baby vomited in my mouth.
I just had like a really flashback horror.
Oh my God.
There. But yeah, I mean, it's like, and you don't know because you're thinking this is what it is. If you're not experienced with working with people, and especially bigger people, you're like, this must be how much they charge. Like, you don't know. And so you're like, I really want them in, and I think it would really benefit me. And you do it. And that's a part that I kind of would do, because the more confident I became in approaching bigger people and saying, I really just want to like send some suits for them to enjoy, for them to just have, there's no posting required. Like, this is simply just for their, just, I hope they enjoy my brand, and I just like think they would really love it. And people take that into consideration. They're like, okay. And it's different than going, you know, how much do they charge for a post? And like, it's, I don't know, there's just a different way to approach it when you're talking to influencers and stuff. And I've learned that over time. And that's why I feel like I've gotten in with, you know, people like Addison Rae and stuff. And that was simply like, now I don't pay really anybody, and they all just post because they want to, or they just are wearing it. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. But it took time, and it took like some trust in girls, like really making them feel special. And I hope that I do that when I send like PRs and stuff. But, you know, it's like, I want it to grow, and I want to reach to new people and new girls and find people that really love my brand. But it takes time, and it takes people like really making people wanting to trust you and saying, yeah, I'd wear your stuff. And that's like the hardest part, is just getting that connection with people more than anything.
I love that. And I think that that's honestly, even from an influencer standpoint, you know, I was like, do we even want to ask her if it was worth it? Because obviously, like, that's our bread and butter. And, you know, while we would never price gouge like a small brand, like, I think that we price really fairly.
We only price gouge big brands.
Facts. Like, you know, I think that that's, for small businesses, I think that that's really important, because, you know, even if you do kind of come on like a paid basis and you like reach out to an influencer, they're going to be less likely, in my opinion, to post you again and post you naturally, because they're like, well, this is work. Right. Whereas if a small brand reaches out to me and they're like, hey, we don't have a budget, but, you know, we would love to just send you this. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, I will either post stories in it. Like, I'll always post stories in whatever I receive, just as like a courtesy. But 9 times out of 10, I will create content for them, because I like supporting small brands that I believe in.
And we're creating content anyways.
Like,
and
we
if
need
it's
stuff
cute,
to create content.
Yeah, and if it's cute and we love it and we take a picture in it, we're not going to not tag you,
because people are probably going to ask where it's from anyways.
Yeah. And I always like say, I hope I get to a point where I am a big brand and I can really support people like influencers who that is their job, and they work for that. And I get that, because obviously it's kind of the same thing for me. Like, I'm sending free stuff, and, you know, I'm not really making profit from it either, except for when you guys post about it. And so it's like, I get it both ways. And I hope that I get to a point one day, because I am still a small business, where I could be like, yes, I want to support you like you're supporting me, in a way where it actually really benefits you. And then
it's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
I am curious, when you got your stuff to, how did you get your stuff to Addison? And 2, when she posted in it, which I don't think she tagged, but it did have your logo on it, did you see anything come from that?
I think wasn't it this tank top?
It was this tank top, yeah.
You should call it the Addison Rae. Sorry.
I'm a hype girl.
I reached out to the email address that was just linked to literally her Instagram. Nice. And her management got back to me, and they just said, like, you can send it. She may not wear it. She may not post in it. We can't guarantee anything, but you're more than happy to just send. They didn't tell me sizing. They didn't tell me anything. I just had to like do it. And I was like, I don't even care. I got this opportunity. Like, I'm going to try and just do as much as I can. It's really funny, because I sent like a ton of swim, and I make those tank tops for like fun. Myself. And I'm like, she chose the tank top out of everything, but that's okay, because I was still so excited, because it says KP Swim on it.
It has your logo.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like
your name right on it.
I feel like if anything, that was the best thing for her to post in, because it literally has your logo on it.
And I like waited. I remember waiting after I sent it, and I looked on my Shopify, and I was like, did it get delivered? And it was delivered. And I was like, every day I was like, hey, it's been delivered. It's been like, it was like 3 or 4 weeks. Like, there's nothing. I was like, have you seen anything? I was checking her TikTok, checking everything every day. I was like, she's got to post in something. And then when I saw that video, it literally took over my website, was like going crazy. And I had like girls going, where's the Addison Rae tank top? Where's the tank top? And I was like,
I have chills.
I didn't even have it up for sale because it was like a thing I just gifted girls. So I literally,
And you're like, start making them.
Put them in production.
ran and got tank tops, and I started tie-dyeing them in my kitchen, and I started screen printing them in my house, and I made like 40 tank tops that day, and I sold like tank tops for like 24 hours. It was like going crazy, and I was like, I guess the tank tops are just
You're like, this is what I do now.
I sell tank tops.
I was like, tank tops, cool, because girls were posting in my tank tops, like not even the swim, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. And I had like style accounts start going, like Addison Rae was wearing the KB Swim tank top with these sweatpants, and I was like, that's cool, because they were tagging me, and they were huge style accounts, you know, like celebrity accounts where they show like what they're wearing, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, between her and another influencer, Lynn Lowe's, she's like a fit influencer, and she's in like Germany, I think, and she has millions, and I got the same opportunity with her with the Addison Rae time frame kind of, and sent her something, and I just was like, I hope you like it. And she was like so sweet about it and posted, and my website, like when those girls post even on the stories, it's insane how like your website will go from like, you know, a couple people on to like 100 people on, and at like one time. Like for me as a small business, like that's a lot for one.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
So I was like, you know, there's those things. That's why I say it's 100% worth it, because it's like, it really does make a difference. Like they see it on social media and they go, oh my gosh, that looks so good on her. Or, what is this she's wearing? And they're like, I want it.
That's awesome.
So when we start our line, we'll just we'll get those addresses from you and just call it a day. Just
literally.
We're just gonna send
just
all the
slide 'em
packages.
in. But you make such a good point, and like Jess said, when brands send us something on a gifting basis with no obligations, we are so much more willing to post about them and share them, and whenever we're in the stuff, we tag them. There's just a different dynamic that goes on there, you know? It's like you're just more willing to be generous with your post and your content when it's just like, hey, here it is. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you love it. It makes us want to share about the brand more. So yeah, if I could give any tips to our listeners, if you're planning on starting a brand, definitely have that nice PR list ready to go. And, you know, if you can afford to pay people, great. But honestly, like, it might work out better in your favor if you just gift it to them and genuinely hope that they enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it changes the dynamic a little bit when you're like, hey, I'd love to send you this for a post, because then it's like,
don't say anything.
Because like then you're asking us to work for free in exchange for a product that we don't necessarily need.
And then they'll be insulted instead of like, you know,
willing to work with you.
Yeah.
And even I think it's even maybe something that you could introduce like after the fact, be like, hey, you know, I saw that you received your package. I hoped you love it, blah, blah, blah. You know, if you happen to take any content in it, would love to see it or whatever. But yeah, I don't think you can't expect anything from sending a product.
Following up is like a huge thing I've learned to do. Like, you know, if you send something and they may not see that DM, they may not see it ever, but it's like, you never know. They could go by it one day way down the road and they see it and then they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot, I didn't even realize. And I've had that happen, and I've just like it really means a lot when you just constantly go like, hey, thank you so much. Like I even respond back to like for instance Addison. So Addison Rae has never physically like responded back to me on Instagram, and she's seen some stuff, like she's seen what I've tagged her in, but like I get it, like I'm sure she's got bombarded, and it just, but like the fact that she's even seen it, I feel like it means something. They get it. They're like, wow, they really do appreciate it. And I'm like, I like constantly am like, thank you so much, and like I just try and like I like love just posting about all of you guys, because I feel like it does help. You never know, like I might have some girls that don't know you, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I love her because she, like, I love the way she looks, and I love the way she looks in that, and I just feel like it's just either way it's good to do. So. Yeah,
it's a win-win for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think that even through like constantly working with you, it's probably built up my like Wilmington girl demographic, you know what I mean?
Girls here in Wilmington literally come to me and they're like, oh yeah, the Jess girl, like that Jess girl that you like, isn't she your friend? And I'm like, yeah, she's my friend. And
you're like, that's my friend.
And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, wait, you're friends with her? Like she's an Instagram influencer, like she's famous. And I'm like, well, she's from here, and like I just know her, and like we became friends, and like as she's grown, like we've just been friends. And it's so funny because like people do here like literally as soon as I say like you, they think of me. And I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know how that became such a thing, I guess because of swim, but it's just so funny because I do hear that like a lot here.
Yeah, that's so funny. And it's definitely because we've just like worked together so much. Like, and you know, I try to revisit and we hang out when I go back and stuff. It's actually funny because one of her fucking models is a girl that I used to babysit.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I could cry.
Well, that makes me feel old.
Yeah. And she's like super cute. And I'm like, she's like posing in bikinis. And I'm like, no.
Okay, so before we wrap it up with our last two questions, the last point I want to make, or ask rather, is I noticed on your stories, and I don't know when this was, but you were tracking I don't know if it was your revenue, your profit, you were tracking something, some figures, and I don't know if it was quarters or yearly, but I think that's something that's really important for brands to do for themselves, to set, financial goals and benchmarks to hit. And I saw you were like crossing shit out on there. So tell us a little bit about that process for you and like how you project those figures.
Yeah. So I, each year I just like try to base it off of like my sales I want to make off of like kind of, what I'm producing. But I started doing that like 2 years ago, and I was like, I really want to make, I used to do it like monthly sales. And then over time I started going, sometimes it's good to do like a bigger picture goal of like monthly, and then do a yearly, end of the year goal. And so I was like, okay, monthly, like 2 years ago, I was like, I just want to do like $5,000 in sales a month. Like that would be perfect, because $5,000 in sales is actually a good amount for like, a small business. And I was like, okay, especially when it's strictly online sales, like it's pretty hard. And so I kind of hit that for a good, like my popular months. Like I have really slow months in the winter, obviously, because no one's really buying like swim. It's more of like January after Christmas is obviously slow. And then we got like September, October, dreaded months. I hate those months. It's like so slow. But yeah, so I just started making like monthly. And then I was like, okay, I was doing like 5 figures, anywhere between like, 35,000 to 50,000 in sales. And I just was like, this is good. This is okay. It was getting me to maintain things, but it wasn't.
And that was yearly, quarterly?
That was yearly. That was
okay. It was yearly.
I was doing in like sales.
Okay.
And then this past year, I was like, I really made a goal at the beginning of the year. I was like, I'm gonna hit 6 figures. Like I gotta hit 6 figures. And I did, I think I did 109 in sales. So I doubled in a year, which
in
is
2020.
Like, in 2020.
In a Pandora. And a panoramic.
Yeah, so I know, surprisingly, the pandemic tripled my sales monthly. Actually, the first month of the quarantine, I had 15,000 in a month. I mean, I was doing hundreds a day. Like it was insane. I guess people were just sitting around with like stimulus checks, just like, let me get on the computer.
We're like, we plan our next launch for the next pandemic.
Really, I'm like, it was the best thing. People were like,
releases a virus.
The struggle. Everyone was like, the struggle of the pandemic, and I was like,
oh my God, you're like
can't be me.
I don't know.
That's really crazy.
No,
I guess people
crazy.
were just bored and shopping. I mean,
Dude,
I know online shopping was a big thing during quarantine because people were not going out. But wow, I mean, what a silver lining for you, right? In the middle of all this.
Yeah, it was definitely like the biggest achievement, and it really helped me just like overall with, being able to do things more of what I wanted to do for my brand to make it more successful. Honestly, having that budget go expand and get a little bigger, this year I'm like, okay, I want to do 160 in sales. I mean,
you got it.
Yeah, it's only 50,000.
Hell yeah, brother.
It seems like I have the inventory, and that's also something you really have to base it off of, is like, I literally take all the inventory I have and I calculate it as if I sold every piece full price, what could be my profit. And that's something that's really important to me, is like, okay, if I have 3,000 suits and I could sell them all at $65 a piece, and this is my profit, and I base it off of that, and I go, this may not be accurate because I have sales, I have wholesale, and so I take away some of that, and then I go, this is more reasonable for what I can make and from what I have, and I really try and push that and make sure I mean, it's like any salesman, like you have to be a salesman, you have to make your, monthly, yearly goals and go, I'm going to push these sales and I'm going to sell these suits and get it out there. And that's what I really strive to do each year. And it's definitely, it's sometimes it's not going to always work out depending on what's going on in the world, what's going on in life and the economy, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but I did get really blessed last year, and I'm hoping it does the same this year. So
yes, let's do a double. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Another double this year. I mean, I think you could clear 200,000 real quick.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right. Well, thank you for being so transparent about that. I feel like people are kind of scared to share their numbers sometimes, but especially with like this show, we just want to be fully transparent and like share the numbers. Like we shared on our influencer episode our personal rates, like what we charge for in-feed posts, which is something that we probably wouldn't have been comfortable doing in the past. But I feel like that way, I mean, people just gain so much more value when they can understand and like conceptualize what type of money we're looking at here and what we're talking about.
Even for us, it's just so helpful to hear that, like, you know, you are just recently becoming profitable, you know, like, and it's just, you know,
reassuring for sure.
I'm actually curious, when does your new line come out?
The new line launches February 1st.
Okay, just in time.
Brothers, go shop.
Go shop. Go get your girl something nice for V-Day.
It's very different. It's like a whole different collection. Then I feel like every year it kind of, everyone says like, I've seen you grow with the swim, like the designs just change. And I kind of took a little bit more chances with like colors and ideas that I had. I was like, I want to kind of step out there, but I'm really excited. It's really, really cool. I can't wait to send you guys some. I'm so excited.
Yay. Where can everyone, just plug yourself real quick. Where can everyone shop the new line?
So you can shop everything at www.shopkbswim.com, and the Instagram is at shopkbswim. And then everything's just online. And then if you're obviously in the Wilmington area, there's Sweetwater Surf Shop, the Girl Style Boutique, Recon, and then a little place in the Cargo District that's new called Augie and Zoe, and they're gonna have some few styles in there. So yeah, and if you're not in Wilmington and you want to have swim in a store in your town, totally hit me up because I love expanding.
Yes,
love that for you.
Slide in her emails. We do have a few questions just to wrap up the show. We ask every guest these 2 questions. The first being, what is your business pro tip?
Business pro tip is definitely go the extra mile for people, for anyone you work with, customers, just like whatever you do, like put everything into it, because you may think like no one's going to realize, but there might be that one person that will, and it could mean a lot. So I've just learned that like I put a lot into making sure people feel happy and feel important and feel special. And it really does mean a lot to people, and to just go the extra mile, even with like packaging and little things, and just like shooting them a sweet message or something. And it's like, it might not get that easy when you get bigger, but like I'm hoping to stick with that even as I get bigger, and just have like my customers seem like extremely cared for. So that's my pro tip.
Love that. Great advice.
And our next question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That everyone once was where you are now. So I used to really like feel insecure about, you know, starting and not really realizing I wasn't as confident in it, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And people, especially people in the business that had been in there longer, I would get really nervous around them, and they'd say, we still are learning, or we were where you were. So like, trust me, like you're doing great. And I just feel like, just always remember that, like they were there once too. So you're not behind. You're they don't think you don't know what you're doing. It's okay.
Love that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because I think a lot of people, fear stops them from going for their dreams and going for especially this entrepreneurial route. And it's really reassuring to hear that, and to see, you know, someone from a small town, just a normal girl, dropped out of college, and like here you are with a 6-figure business. You know, it's like you're not some mathematician, NASA scientist, and that's why you're here. It's like, you know, if you can do it, other girls can do it. And I feel like so many people are going to relate to you and your story and how you started. So yeah, I'm hyped. Thank you so much. I'm so happy we finally had you on.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so you plugged everything. You guys know where to find her. You guys know where to shop her swim, her new line launching in February. And take a screenshot if you've enjoyed this episode. Tag Kenzie, tag me, tag Jess. Let us know you're listening. And
we will see you next week.
And we'll see you next week, brothers. Bye.